What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am here today reviewing the Marauders Gunrunners Task Force Night Ops figure. Um, this was a long time coming. I've actually had this figure for about a month and a half, and he's been sitting in my background on my review station, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But it's a bit of a, I'm excited, but there's some, kind of to this as well, but I'm going to focus on the excitement. This is our alternative to G.I. Joe. Marauders Gunrunners has been providing 1/18 scale weapons for G.I. Joe style figures for several years now. I've been buying weapons for my figures from them for quite some time. He's holding one right now, so it only makes sense that they would make figures because Hasbro has dropped the ball so hard when it comes to G.I. Joes. Now they did go in a very simplistic kind of way with these figures because there's not a lot of paint on them. It's mostly, things sculpted in the color that they're going to be in. But, in their defense, it works with the designs because, if you're a stealth op, you're going to mostly wear dark colors. So if this is the Night Ops figure, he should be wearing dark colors. And he is indeed wearing dark colors, and I like that. He's wearing all black. Now, my complaint and my issue with them is that I didn't order the Night Ops version of this character or of this figure, but this is what I was given. And it's not a bad, prize, so to speak, but, I did ask for something else, and it's kind of weird getting that. But I'm going to talk to Marauders, and I'll get into that whole spiel later. But what we did get here for the $20 that you pledged if you were involved in Marauders Kickstarter is a, 1/18 scale soldier in the vein of G.I. Joe with better articulation, weapons that he actually can hold. Every weapon fits in their hands properly, and several places to put all of the weapons for the most part, and not a lot of complaints. Very good build quality, very good paint where there is paint, and an overall product that's just beautiful when you think about the fact that this did not come from Hasbro. So I'm going to get into the good and the bad, which is mostly good, and yeah, we're going to go through all this. So here we go. So the Sculpt. Sculpt, I have to harp on because there's not much paint. The Sculpt is beautiful. Essentially, it's a dude in BDUs, black BDUs, with a couple tack straps and belts in different places, and some arm guards and shin guards and forearm guards, and this optional balaclava. The head that he actually comes with is more akin to Snake Eyes or the Killer from the original series Wanted by J.G. Jones. It was an Image book. He kind of has that look, and you'll see it in a couple images, actually right here. I actually don't mind this look. There's like no paint. If you have this head on the figure, which is what he came with in the package, there was no paint. That's zero paint on this figure, which is, it's not horrible. It could be better, but they gave you the extra head that shows that there will be options, and those options have paint on them. If I was to get a figure, a Joe, without paint, which there have been Joes like this, essentially most Snake Eyes figures, that's what you were getting up until Rise of Cobra. And even Rise of Cobra, I'm pretty sure he was like this. So it wasn't until Retaliation that they put brown and that weird reddish brown gloss over the black that we got some paint on the figure. So, for a stealth op or night ops figure, this works. This is one time that they cut corners, and they cut corners in a very smart way. It's military. Oftentimes people are dressed for the occasion. Now you see these peg holes all over the place. That is the gimmick with these guys. All the gear has pegs and everything's modular, and you can put them in these holes all over the figure and on the armor or web gear that they come with. so you can customize what you want your troops to look like. I think that's a dope idea. I honestly think this all would work better if the figures aren't expensive, because you're paying a premium for an independently made figure, but you're not really getting a lot of paint in most cases, because I'm pretty sure all the figures, with the exception of the red figure, they don't really have any paint on them. As of this recording, I think that you can get parts, like extra parts, like armor and stuff, from Marauders GR, which is pretty cool. I like everything that I've seen. I mean, this is what they look like when they have all their gear on them, and I like that. It looks really cool. It looks really tactical. I'm not going to use all this gear because I didn't glue these things in, and that's one of the instructions that you're given when you open the package. They tell you that, pick a configuration that you like and glue them in, because if you move them around, the pieces are going to fall off. During this review, I can't tell you how many times pieces fell off while I was trying to take pictures. So right after I finished, I glued everything in. And I didn't do it 100% in this configuration. But I love what I see. Everything is sculpted to the T, all the wrinkles, all the little clips, all the little snaps, every little detail is sculpted to perfection by Boss Fight Studio. So you got to give them props. It's one of those things where you're like, Hasbro didn't do this and someone else can do it better. I almost feel like Hasbro needs to sell the rights or hire Boss Fight Studio to make Joes, because many of those guys are former Hasbro employees. I mean, this guy, there's almost nothing I can't get him to do. He can hold the sword with both hands. He can, do everything that the Joe Trooper does. The only thing he can't do, and I'll get into it in the articulation, is that he cannot do the whole wide-legged stance with his legs flat on the ground, because he doesn't have the ankle pivot. And I don't care, because I don't like the way it looks on most figures. If there's one thing I could get rid of on the Joe Trooper, it would be that. But, I have to admit that in most images, it looks good. So I'm not complaining. I like what I got. Overall, though, he's just well sculpted. The little bit of paint comes on that optional balaclava head with the skull, the ghost style skull on it, and it's well painted, and so is the flesh tone, and so are the eyes. Now the accessories. It looks like I have a lot of stuff here, but realistically there's not that much to talk about with the accessories, and that's part of where I have a problem with these guys. This is what I got, and in the next picture you'll see what we were promised. So this is actually what I ordered, and it was my understanding that this was what was going to be packaged in your basic Kickstarter. You pledge your $20 or more, and this is what you get. If you pledge, whatever amount, then you get, this times however many, times they tell you. And it's weird because I've seen people post pictures of their what they got, and some of them have a bunch of this stuff, which is weird because I didn't get all this. Now, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding what they had told us that we were going to get, and it's very possible. Like I said, I'm still waiting to hear from them so that I can find out what happened. But that's a lot of stuff. I would have been happy with all this. That's $20 worth of stuff. Not what I got. Not this. This is not $20 worth of a figure. Because honestly, if this were, and I get that it'll be a little bit more expensive because it's independent, but if this were an official release, all that shit would already be on my figure. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the modular little parts is not enough for me to say, oh, it needs to be higher and whatnot. I mean, I get it though. It's a Kickstarter, so you're doing your part to get it out there. And now if you buy the figures, just the figures, if you buy them on their site, they're a lot cheaper. But as you can see, there are peg holes all over the place because you can put all the parts where you want them. All the holsters, all the pockets, etc., etc. The knives. The knives are made to fit all of your 1/18 scale figures' hands. They fit in snugly. They're beautifully painted. I love them. And you have two sheaths. The gun, you get a pistol that kind of has like an elongated barrel piece so that you can actually put the silencer on there, and you can buy the silencer sold separately. And you get 3 different types of holsters. You get the quick draw one, which is the bigger one on the top. You get the 2 side holsters, or one is a side and one I think could be up on your chest or on your shoulder. And the gun fits snugly in both, and it's easy to pull out. It's not a problem. One of these clips, this small clip you see right here, this is for their flashbangs or, grenades. Their grenades actually have the little arm that sticks off, and you can put it in those 2 holes and it will hang off of them like real life. The skull balaclava, that was a bonus piece for the Kickstarter specifically. You can order it separately, but yeah, we got that in addition to the head that came with the figure because of the Kickstarter. It's a nice bonus. The freaking, what is that? Anti-particle rifle. It's a beautiful rifle. That was a bonus piece as well. They always throw in bonus pieces. But let's talk about the web gear for a second. This web gear, it's kind of nice, but it's kind of a pain in the ass because it doesn't want to stay closed. It rides up really high, just like it did on Hasbro stuff. It just has this kind of, I don't know, it's difficult to work with. Once you put the pegs in, or put the pieces in, you move this figure at all, and everything falls off just about, except for those tiny little pieces that hold the grenades on. Everything else, I guess, except for any of the smaller pieces, everything else just falls off. So you definitely, if you're going to use this, you're going to have to glue your pieces in place. Now, I'm not dissing it. I'm just telling you what I dealt with when I used it. I love Marauders, so I'm not going to badmouth them. I'm just letting you know what my experience was because, I know it's a Kickstarter, so, things happen. But anyway, all in all, once you deal with all the issues that you will have getting to this point, you have a very well-armed figure, and it looks beautiful, so I can't complain. Part of what makes G.I. Joe so awesome is that they pioneered action figures. They were the first movable fighting man, as they were called. So if you're going to try and take the crown from G.I. Joe or pick up the ball from G.I. Joe, you're going to need to make a very posable figure in the vein of G.I. Joe, and you can't be sloppy about it. You got to make sure this is a clean sculpt. You got to make sure the joints work and they're very free moving, you know what I mean? Not ratchets, not obstructions with the different parts and all that craziness. You got to make sure everything works properly, and I have to say they did a good job with that. I was able to just pose him and make him do all kinds of stuff. Like, he's going to be a character in Fenris Company, so he's kind of the original Fenris Company by himself. So he has to be very capable. If I put him in a pose, he has to hold the pose. The one thing I will say is that the knee joints are a little gummy because they're double jointed knees, and one portion of the knee wants to bend and the other portion does not. But if you work it a little bit, or put him in cold water and then work it, and then let him get to room temperature on his own, you can achieve all kinds of poses. But as you can see, just looking at him being posed, he does everything right. I mean, they took the right pieces from Pursuit of Cobra. They took the right pieces from the Valor versus Venom days. They took the right pieces from, your 25th anniversary figures. And I'm talking pieces of Articulation. And they made it all work. Nothing is overly complicated on this figure. So I think they did a good job balancing cost, and the actual engineering. So, it's actually just a really cool thing to see, and I'm glad that I'm in on this. Articulation on this bad boy is really simple. Head is on a ball joint. He looks up, looks down. See, that's up, that's down, side to side with no problem. It's actually really nice and stiff. Arms go up at the sides this much. If you have something on his arm and it's not glued, you can put him up all the way, but this is natural movement right here. We'll take those off for now. Elbows bend this much, which is perfect. There's a swivel at the elbow. See that? Swivel at the wrist. Look at the flick of that wrist. Then there's that awesome bend that we're used to for Joe's. He doesn't have a diaphragm joint like we're used to with Joe's. Instead, he has a ball joint right there at his waist. So he can duck down like that, and he can lean back like this. Something most Joes don't do, right? Even has some side to side. The legs are on a ball joint. If you put too much stress on them, they'll just come off. You can see the ball joint right there. See it? It's pretty awesome. The legs are made of a nice kind of pliable rubber in the thigh. So legs can go up this much, out that much, back that much. Knees bend to double jointed knees, so you get a perfect bend. I like that. The feet or our ankles are old school twist, point, but no ankle rocker, which is freaking awesome. Because I prefer that because the legs look better when they stand up straight. So that is his articulation in a nutshell. So, you know, if you want him to use your guns, he can use the guns, and Marauders makes the best weapons. It's just plain and simple. If you want him to be, you know, scaling walls and shit, he can scale walls and shit. If you want him to just look thorough, he can look thorough. There's no, you know, issues when it comes to making this guy look the part. I find that I'm going to need to buy a vest for him because I like him better without the web gear. And I find he's easier to pose without the web gear. So I'm thinking a vest would actually do him better. And I'm actually about to get one when I talk to Marauders, you know, this week. Side note. So the more I think about it, I know what my issue is. And it was just sheer excitement for an alternative to G.I. Joe. So I misunderstood some of these pictures and some of what was what we were told during the Kickstarter. And as I look back at the things I kept, the notes I kept, as I was, because I researched the hell out of shit, I'm seeing that I missed stuff. So, you know, ignore. I was sent the wrong figure, but they did say that your figure would only come with what's shown in the picture. But some of the figures have more gear on them than others, and I think that's why I was like, I didn't get everything I wanted, because this was what I wanted. I ordered the Urban Ops. Even on my order form, when I got the figure, it shows Urban Ops crossed out, and Night Ops was written in its place. And I'm thinking to myself, why'd they cross out what I picked and give me something else? I mean, I'm not really complaining, but you know, when you ask for something and you pay for it, you kind of expect to get what you paid for, you know? I kind of was like, when I was looking at the Jungle Ops, I was like, that looks cool and it would fit in with Fenner's company. But then I was like, you know what? I want an Urban Ops figure because he has that Cobra Special Forces look. And I think buying these guys on their site is cheaper than what the Cobra Special Forces go for on the secondary market. And I was looking into the armor and I'm like, you know what? I dig these. These guys look cool. I'm going to go for it and I'm going to get this type of figure. And I'm going to, you know, round out my ranks of my Cobra Special Forces and get like 2 of them and call it a day. And I was really, you know, I'm still excited. I'm still going to be getting them because, like I said, I love Marauders. But I think I got so excited that I was ignoring some of the stuff that was shown. But I saw all this, different heads. There's that one unmasked head that they somehow made nondescript enough that it could be any nationality if you paint it up the right way. But anyway, this was what I wanted. This is what I saw. I see all the gear on him and I'm like, yep, that's the one I'm getting. And I had my heart set on that, you know, and I pledged exactly I pledged more than what you see up there. So I'm like, so what's the deal? I got this guy instead, which he's cool, but there's like no paint on him, and pretty much he's another Snake Eyes. So you know me, if given the chance to have a figure with paint that's not Snake Eyes, I would go for the figure that is not Snake Eyes and has paint on him. But you know, I'm a very versatile, or I'm sorry, adaptable person. I can adapt to most situations, so I'm not complaining. I'm pointing it out. That's all. So you know, ultimately, I'm gonna get this guy sometime soon. I really dig the construction of these figures. I like the way that they feel, and you know, even with this weirdness, like I'm gonna hit them up and find out why they gave me something else, and see if we can fix that. But yeah, I dig these. These are definitely worth it. Don't let this be a deterrent. I think this is just one of the hiccups of this Kickstarter, because it took a year more for them to get things to us because of issues that they had with joint tolerances. But once again, this is showing that they actually give a shit, because they tested the joint tolerances to make sure that they were doable so that we would be happy and we wouldn't be having these issues, and then they have to do all this shit on the fly again. Something Hasbro seems to have forgotten that they need to do. You know, you test your figures. So the bottom line is really simple with this guy. I'm just gonna kind of rant my ass off because that's what I do. Um, G.I. Joe hasn't been the same since Pursuit of Cobra. I want to say the 30th anniversary was probably the end of the good times, when we got those Renegades figures, you know, Sci-Fi, Stalker. I mean, he wasn't in Renegades, but he was in the 30th. Freaking Airtight, you know, the Renegades Ultimate Storm Shadow. Like, after that, it was 100%. So this guy is kind of an answer to that. You know what I'm saying? They're taking all the things that worked and they're completely throwing all the other shit to the wayside, and they're giving you a troop builder that's compatible with your other figures so that you can actually supplement or make new characters based on this mold. You can customize the fuck out of this mold. It's pretty basic, so if you want to paint over it, you have options. If you want to take the legs from this guy and put them on a Joe, you can. It's just really smart when you think about all the possibilities that you have with this figure. And then the modular accessories just adds to it, because not only does Marauders make modular weapons, but they also make the modular gear. Just about anything you could need for your Joes, you could do it with this guy. You can get it from them and you can use it with this guy. So honestly, there's just no comparison to your you know, your previous Joe collection. There's I'm sorry. There's no comparison between this and modern Joes. The 50th anniversary stuff sucks. Color choices are horrible. Plastics are still cheap. I mean, freaking Gung-Ho has heavy duties weaponry with teal bullets. The fuck? Like, somebody is clearly asleep at the wheel. We're still repainting vehicles, and that's supposed to be cool. No, it's not cool. You need to do more. This is doing more. This is in the right direction. This right here would make you, and they cost $12 if you get them with a head. I think you have to buy all the armor parts separately. Which, you know, that's kind of a pain in the ass, but I'm pretty sure they'll have sets. And if they have the sets shouldn't cost, you know, $20. You know, the sets should be a lot cheaper. I think you'll be paying about what you pay for your Hasbro figures, but you'll be getting like 3 times as much stuff because of all the accessories and parts that come off and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's a good investment, you know. If you just need bodies and you don't need any of these special heads, you know, because you can kind of build your figure from the ground up on their site. You know, you can get the body you want, the head you want, the, you know, armor you want, the different pouches and pieces that you want, the weapons that you want. And so at the end, you spend $20 because you get the really high-end stuff. You're going to come out with a really good figure. So the task force figures are really dope. If you want to build enemies for your Joes, say you have the best Joes that have been released, and you want a team of enemies, you can build that team of enemies simply by getting some of these guys. So I'm impressed. I like them. I thought I was going to get on here and complain because of the fact that I got the Night Ops and not the Urban Ops figure, but I'm still impressed. They're doing good work. It's stuff that needs to be done, and we need to sing their praises and you know, throw them a bone and buy their product. Overall, I don't know, it's a good way for us to keep the spirit of G.I. Joe alive, even if the people who make G.I. Joe don't give a shit about, you know, the franchise. I'm glad that we got to bring this thing into life. I mean, they hit their goal extremely quick. I mean, it was like within that day or by the end of the day, I want to say, or the end of a short, like 2-day period or 3-day period, something like that. It was really a short period of time that they made this happen. We made this happen. But this is an example of what I always talk about, where I say we vote with our wallet. If people create shit, you don't pay for it anymore. You stop paying and you put your money elsewhere. You want good stuff, you want something to persevere, you got to back it. And this is an example of a Kickstarter that actually, it was a worthy Kickstarter, and it's doing something, it's filling some big shoes, because Marauders is not Hasbro. You know what I mean? It's a small company that, you know, caters to a pretty big fan base. I don't know that everybody that collects Joes knows about Marauders, but if you're on my page, you know about Marauders because I've mentioned them before. So anyway, I'm going to leave the address in the description below, and that's it for me. It's been my review of the Marauders Gun Runners Task Force figures. Get them if you can. They do everything that you could want from a Joe, and they do it well. So I'm Strident. You guys have been great. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace outside.